What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Tasty Tuesday on Tasty Loot Gaming, the show where we talk about gaming news. My name's Seth.
I'm Chevy.
And a couple quick reminders to download and play Just Cause 4, Rocket Arena, and Worms Rumbled, all offered for free on PlayStation Plus throughout the month of December. Make sure to download those, play those, come back at the end of the month to talk with us on Plus Club about your experiences with those games. We'll let you know our experience with those games as well and give it a grade. And our game of the month picked by the community is Smite, which is a third-person action MOBA. Make sure to download that free-to-play game. Play it, come back at the end of December. We're going to talk about our experience with that as well. And we have a Discord link down below. You can talk to us anytime, all the time. We're on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast platforms. If you prefer to listen to us, you can type in hashtag AskTLG on your comment if you'd like to be featured on TastyCast. And you can check us out on social media. Links down below if you so choose to. All right, so Tasty Tuesday, the tastiest of Tuesdays. It is the Tuesday before Cyberpunk's imminent release, a game that is getting pretty good reviews. It's getting some complaints about some bugs in the game, and there's a day one patch that's going to come out and apparently fix a lot of those bugs. Before we get into the news, what do you think about what you're hearing about so far?
I think it's funny when a game is reviewed really high. For example, I'm seeing mostly 9s and 10s. I've seen a couple 7s.
Yeah. I think GameSpot gave it a 7.
Well, they give it a flat 7. Yeah. Which, of course, people were not happy about. But anyways.
Venture Beat gave it a 3 out of 5.
Yeah, I think that it's like a 7 point something at that point.
Yeah.
Regardless of that, because that's a whole other topic on its own on how to pick a reviewer instead of
and even YouTubers are seeming to... I've seen a couple complain about it, but... a lot of them acknowledge there's bugs in the game, but they're enjoying it.
Yeah.
Easy Allies seems very impressed with the game. Arx was talking about it, and he sounded like he was really into it. So
yeah, I mean, really what it comes down to is, like, instead of paying attention to every little review score, which is a decent metric, but take it with a grain of salt, find somebody whose opinion you trust, and that's who you should probably be basing your purchase money off of. So.
More than one person, I would say.
Yeah, my whole point is, like, don't just look at all the numbers and go, oh, it's going to be an amazing game, and I'm sure it's going to be. But trust is a huge thing, man.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I always look at info as an aggregate, as a complement to my already pretty in-depth opinion on things anyway, and that only way that really sways anything is if I'm already kind of on the fence and people are overwhelmingly going like blah, 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 and it's kind of starting to feed some of the suspicions I had already. That's how it affects me. But I never listen to any review and go, well, they said it, I'm going to pick it up.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think that power used to be a lot bigger of a thing back in the days of like magazines and in the early days of like IGN and stuff like that. But nowadays, I think most people are kind of like on that page because there's so many sources of information for gaming now that you kind of have to be part of that aggregate. Although I do see people every once in a while on Twitter who seem pretty intentional on or intent on making these decisions based off of single factors, which is kind of a remnant of the past, in my opinion. But I think most people do kind of do what I'm saying to some extent.
No, and I would agree with that. I'm just putting it out there instead of, like, seeing a reviewer you disagree with and, like, giving them crap for it. That's their opinion, that's their thoughts and their audience, right? You don't have to be part of that. So that being said, I'm mostly seeing 9s and 10s. And if at that point when you have a game that's near perfect to perfectly reviewed, they have to give you a negative, and if bugs is the negative.
One of the big strong points I'm hearing is characters, the story, the choices, which are the things I'm wanting out of the game. I haven't heard anything bad about the gameplay, which is good. That's something I was kind of not necessarily worried about, but if there's something I would be skeptical on, it'd be the people who made a RPG making a shooter RPG, technically more of an RPG than a shooter, but still like it's a first-person fucking game where you punch and shoot things. So that's something that's good to hear. And again, the bugs, these people are all playing copies of the game that don't have that fucking patch that's coming out day one. So people are playing still kind of an early build of this game, I guess, compared to what we'll be playing now.
Okay.
So that's good to hear. And I'm not trying to overly defend the game, just because if it has issues, it has issues. But the biggest thing I'm hearing about is those bugs. If you think for 1 second CD Projekt Red's not going to put all their efforts into fucking making sure that's fixed, at some point. I was going to say ASAP, which I want to believe, but at any point, I think you'd be mistaken.
It's an open world game. Like,
Sure.
I can't think of a single one I haven't seen a bug in. So,
Yeah. So yeah, overall, I'm still hearing people keep focusing on. I know we've kind of put it on a pedestal on this channel. I'm gonna own that a bit, just because of our hype. That's our own personal hype.
Sure,
and we've attracted a lot of like-minded people, which is great. But I also want to warn people, like, you can't view this game as like, the second coming of Christ, or like the revelation's going to change everything. It is, in a sense, a big step in the genre, 100%. But people got to keep their expectations realistic as well. But at the same time, if the game has bugs and people are still giving it 9s and 10s,
yeah.
I mean, like, that when a Naughty Dog game comes out and gets a 9 or 10 and doesn't have bugs, this does, and still getting those grades. I mean, like, people are really kind of focusing. I think a lot of it, I don't want to turn this into Taste Cast, but I think a lot of it is people who are maybe worried, who were hyped for it, because people are kind of always preemptively ready to be disappointed for some reason. I've noticed.
It's not necessarily a bad thing, but yeah.
Well, it's kind of around the time of the 360 and onward, when games start getting released unfinished. We're well past that era now. It's kind of just reality now.
Yeah.
People have gotten this idea that games are just going to come out broken. And they're not 100% wrong. Ubisoft has a track record of releasing games and then releasing the full version a year or two later. So they got that mentality. So they're kind of preempted. It's like, don't get too excited for Christmas because you might not get what you want, kind of thing. Yeah. Is what it feels like. But also the people who want this game to fail because they hate when things are popular. There's a lot of people like that. Anytime something's super popular, people want it to fucking fail. And I've seen a lot of those people on Twitter. And so, when there's bugs with this game or whatever, they're focusing on that. I'm like, you're not still focusing on the aggregate of overwhelmingly positive results from people.
Yeah, I said the game's an event, man. Like, every single company out there on Twitter is literally just making jokes about people calling out sick and shit like that on Wednesday, or Thursday.
But regardless of that, there's people who will view that hype negatively,
Sure.
and they want the game to fail, and they're going to focus on anything they can get their fucking hands on, and that's just a part of how it is with everything. We
saw that with Death Stranding. So
Death Stranding, 100%. Call of Duty every year since the beginning of Call of Duty being very popular. Modern Warfare, the original one.
Yep.
These are the same people who go like, these people are like, Cyberpunk's going to fail. I'm like, no, even if the game's horrible, it's impossible this game fails.
They've
The hype
already
alone,
sold their
the
copies.
hype alone sold the game. It's not a failure.
Yeah.
If you mean in the public eye it's a failure, I doubt that too. But even if that were the case, it didn't fail. It made its money.
Yeah.
So it can't fail. So it's just like people are like, dead game. People are playing it. I'm like, it's not dead. You sound like a fucking idiot. So anyway, not to start the episode on kind of a negative note, but this game's fucking about to drop. I got mine downloaded, ready to go.
Me too.
So once that game's available, I'm ready to play it. Yeah, a lot of really interesting information coming out about that. But let's jump into the first bit of news, which is some Metal Gear Solid movie news. The long-awaited Metal Gear Solid movie has been in pre-production for a long time now, and finally we're getting confirmation that they have found their Solid Snake. This is via Screen Rant. Metal Gear Solid movie art shows what Oscar Isaac can look like as Snake. Now, Oscar Isaac recently has been announced to be Solid Snake in the Metal Gear Solid movie. We still don't know when that movie is coming out, but that they've actually signed somebody to play Solid Snake seems to be a promising thing. So let's read through this article real quick, get on the same page, and talk about it. The Metal Gear Solid movie officially cast Oscar Isaac as Solid Snake, and a new work of fan art offers a taste of how he may look in the role. You guys are seeing what we're seeing on screen. If people who are listening want to know, it's Oscar Isaac with a bandana, with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, 5 o'clock shadow, and has kind of a bluish green background similar to Metal Gear Solid. Article says fans can now get a taste of how Oscar Isaac could look as Solid Snake in the Metal Gear Solid movie, courtesy of some newly released fan art created by Hideo Kojima. The Metal Gear franchise debuted with 2 installments on the MXS2 home computer. The saga exploded into the mainstream via the PlayStation with 1998's aforementioned Metal Gear Solid. Multiple outings have since been released, including sequels, prequels, and spin-offs and supplementary adventures. As it stands, however, the future Metal Gear video game series has remained firmly up in the air. Talk of a big screen adaptation has circulated as far back as 2006. Things on that front took a huge leap forward in 2014 when Jordan Vogt Roberts, I'm not sure how to say that middle name, or last name, was first put forward as a potential director. The Kong Skull Island helmer has since confirmed that he will oversee production, with multiple drafts of the script completed in the last few years, repeatedly praising what's on the page. Vogt Roberts has vowed to make a riskier, balls-to-the-wall film that would honor Kojima's legacy and further break the curse of video game adaptations. Big fucking claim.
Yeah.
Let's hope he's right. His words were later backed up by the release of impressive concept art that was widely well received by hardcore Metal Gear fans. So we got a confirmation. Oscar Isaac is Solid Snake in the Metal Gear Solid movie that is being directed by, what was his first name? Jordan Vogt Roberts, who has been attached to this for a long time, has been in contact with Kojima for a long time, being mentored by him in the sense of making a Metal Gear Solid movie. And in a lot of interviews, which I wasn't going to line up, but it might take too long in the episode, has seemed to kind of understand the intricacies of what makes Metal Gear Solid outside of just having a badass dude with a bandana. Before we talk about what we think about that, let's look at some of these concept arts. This one's a little closer up of the image we just looked at, making sure everybody can see what we're seeing here. Oscar Isaac, cigarette, he's got some scratch on his face, bandana. We got another side-by-side comparison of his face next to Metal Gear Solid 2, Solid Snake with quite the fucking mullet. Pretty similar in some ways, more so than I would have considered.
Face shape for sure.
Yeah, obviously definitely different, but it's better than people got this weird idea that they need to be identical, and I've always said I'd rather the person play the character better than look the character, but this is a pretty good compromise. I mean, he looks pretty fucking close. He's got pretty similar characteristics in some ways, and I think if you did him up correctly, if he plays the role well enough, you're gonna fucking not even.
I'll say that fan art made him look like Snake, so.
Yeah, if he was a cosplayer, everybody would be celebrating him.
For sure.
So,
of course, it's a movie, so the standard's higher.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, again, kind of what I was talking about earlier, people are already disappointed. So they're like, they're going to break my heart. And then we got this mock-up as well. Let me make sure you guys are seeing that. Of this was Jordan Vogt Roberts' friend who does art. I think he did some of the pre-production art for some of the ideas they have for the Metal Gear Solid movie. And when they finally got him locked in, he asked him if he could draw up a mock-up of him as Solid Snake. And I actually really like this picture because it's him and he looks the part.
For sure.
So we kind of alluded to it a little bit, but what do you think about Oscar Isaac as Solid Snake? What do you think about the actor? What do you think about the director and this movie moving forward?
Okay, so what do I think of Oscar Isaac as Snake? I mean, if he could do the job, then that's all that really matters. As far as like, what do I think of Oscar Isaac himself? I think he's a great actor. I also think he'll be more than capable of doing the role, and any thing like visually, that the director may decide he needs to do can be done with makeup or post anyways. I know one concern also was like the voice part. I mean, the dude's an actor, right? So unless he's just not trying, he's gonna attempt to do, at the very least, some of it. Like, I can't imagine they would not go.
Well, him attempting doesn't mean it's gonna be good or not.
Sure, but like, I also don't need it to be David Hayter, right?
Well, it's not gonna be for sure.
So I mean, like,
I think as long as he has a subtle, cool, gruff tone, that's all that's really needed. He doesn't need to sound like the original Metal Gear Solid for PlayStation Solid Snake, because even David Hayter didn't sound like that in Metal Gear Solid 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Even in 2, it'd been a little while, so his voice gets a little lighter. In Metal Gear Solid 4, because he's fucking deteriorating. He sounds way more decrepit.
Yeah.
So I mean, like it's gonna be hard for even David Hayter to nail that, let alone fucking Oscar Isaac.
So I mean, and then the director, to my knowledge, I don't think I've seen any of the movies. So hard for me to have an opinion on that regard, though. From what I've heard from you, because I haven't looked into this at all, it seems like he has a respect for the property.
He's really into it,
and at least in my experience, that does translate very well. I know not everyone was a fan of it, but I think the World of Warcraft movie was a good video game movie. I like the Silent Hill movie.
Yeah.
The Sonic movie was really good. The Pokemon movie was good. So I mean, the possibilities are there.
I mean, that's a good 4 movies just throughout that I think at the base minimum are acceptable video game movies.
100%. I think the biggest problem like Warcraft had was mostly just a budget issue, right? They couldn't spend the huge bucks to polish it up.
It had weaknesses. It and I don't have any affinity for WoW or Warcraft or anything like that, but some of the actors were not that great, and the budget could have been better for sure. But for what they were working with, one of the major complaints from critics before the movie got released to everybody else was that they didn't understand what was going on. And it's because they didn't play WoW, and that's something that contradicts something that other people always complain about when they make video game movies. They try to make them accessible to everybody, and they sugarcoat the lore to be easier digested by people who don't play the games, and then people who are fans of the games get pissed because they're like, well, fucking that was for everyone. I want something for the fans. And then the World of Warcraft movie or Warcraft movie try to do something more directly for the fans, and people bitched. So it's like you can't make everyone happy.
Yeah. And I think some tweaks could have probably made that a little more accessible, but at the same time, I feel like anyone could have sat down and like understood the basic concept of the movie. Like,
you would think that, but one of the guys who interviewed David Bowie's son, who directed that, was really trying to push that the movie was confusing, and David Bowie's son, I forgot his name, was something Jones, was essentially saying, he's like, I kind of figured, a red spell would mean this, and a green spell would mean that, and I figured most people understand that.
Yeah.
And because he's kind of being a dick back to him, so there was a point of contention there with
or hey, I want my people to survive, right? That's a pretty basic concept.
Yeah.
So anyways,
yeah, I think critics were overly feeling left out.
Yeah.
That the movie wasn't necessarily made directly for them.
So
and just like
the whole point,
just like Silent Hill has definitely some weaknesses, but you can tell that it was done by people who actually respected the property.
Yeah.
One thing they included that I really adored was they actually had the original soundtrack to Silent Hill, a bunch of the Silent Hills, in the movie. And they didn't make their own soundtrack. I mean, there's some songs in there that are original, but like a lot of it's from the games. And as a fan of the games and a fan of that music, it was awesome to see that in that. Yeah. So yeah, it felt a little more at home than any of the Mila Jovovich video game movies that have or will be coming out.
Or a certain guy who wanted to box people.
Yeah. Oh, he wanted to, and he did it, and he beat the fuck out of those kids. Because that's how you win arguments about if people like your movies or not. You hurt them.
Anyways, I think right now we have a pretty good track record in current video game movies, since they don't like just pop out and stuff like that. That I can be hopeful, and I like the actor. So I have concerns with Konami receiving any money off of this, but at the same time, I do hope for a good movie. So.
Yeah, I the only thing I have apprehension about is this director I'm not familiar with. He made Kong Skull Island, which got pretty mixed reviews. I heard it was decent. I didn't hear anything bad about it, but I didn't hear anything amazing about it either. And with the amount of people who have been hyping this movie up and hyping the director up because he's a known director to some extent, I feel like he's almost overhyping him because I don't know how proven he is. I should probably watch that movie and know myself, but being disconnected from his movies and just listening to him talk about it, it does seem like he's played the games. He loves the games. He seems to understand more about the nuance of the games than just the base, shallow viewpoint of just seeing them and going like, oh, he's just a badass with a gun. So that's good. He does have direct connections with Hideo Kojima, so that's really good that he's going through him. And of course, he's going to be going through Konami because they own the rights to the series. But it's good that he's directly connected to Kojima, the person who created it, to be having these conversations on how to make, a good live action representation of his game. So that's a good start. I just hope he has the directorial ability to translate this onto the big screen, or I guess maybe directly stream to your house, given how things are nowadays. Oscar Isaac, I think, is a really good actor. He's not like top tier amazing actor, but he could be when he gets older. He might have a legacy at some point where you're like, that dude fucking started here, got here. He's a great actor. It's still pretty early in his career, even though he's been around for years. But he is a higher caliber actor than I would assume a video game movie would get. So just like when they got Michael Fassbender in Assassin's Creed, I was like, holy shit, they got Michael Fassbender in Assassin's Creed, and then that movie ended up, I guess, being meh. I never saw it, but I heard decent things about it. Decent to meh. But so I've been kind of led in the wrong direction prior with the promise of a great actor being in a video game movie. So I'm not going to get too excited, but it does tell me that you're taking your movie serious when you're able to book a credible and respectable actor. So I'm pretty stoked about that. I've liked his performances in every movie I've seen him in. Even if the movie he's in is bad, he's typically always really good. I think he could play Solid Snake. I think he has a cool, calm, collected nature to himself that he can accent into Solid Snake as a character. Will he nail his mannerisms or his voice? We'll see. But I think given between his acting ability and Jordan Vogt Roberts, is that his fucking name?
Jordan. Yeah.
His passion for the series, I hope between those two things we'll get something that's really good. But overall, I think this is looking good. I can't be super excited about it yet, but I think the mock-ups look good. I think the casting sounds good so far, and I think it is in a really good starting place. That really, the only thing that can make this movie bad is the people working on it. I mean, like they're starting to get all the right ingredients for something really good. So it's up to them to really nail this or not.
Yeah, and obviously, like, if the script needs to be good. So
yeah, for sure. Which they're saying it is. Anything else you want to say?
No.
All right, let us know in the comments what do you guys think about the Metal Gear Solid movie. What do you think about the casting of Oscar Isaac as Solid Snake? Do you think he looks the part? Do you think he can play the part? Are you excited or are you not excited? Who is your dream cast for the Metal Gear Solid movie? I see a lot of them on Twitter, and so many of them are just visual representations of what they think characters in the game look like. But then I look at the actors, I'm like, that's not even a good actor. I would never want them in a Metal Gear Solid movie.
Yeah.
So let me know everything you're thinking about in the comments below. All right, for our second bit of news, it's a bit of a send-off, actually, because we've been covering Cyberpunk 2077 for a long time now, ever since they first showed the first teaser. So years we've been following this game and covering it on the channel. And this is, I think, the last video we're going to be watching before the release of the game. Yeah. Which feels almost bittersweet. I'm so used to like building up to Cyberpunk. We're finally going to be playing it soon, so that's kind of fucking crazy. But this is the Cyberpunk 2077 official launch trailer. Just released recently. We're gonna watch it and get hyped for the imminent release. It's finally coming out. No delays unless something fucking crazy happens. And so this is just to get hyped for it. I mean, I'm sure we're just gonna say positive things about it anyway. Anything you want to say before we watch this, or about the journey to Cyberpunk, covering it for so long?
I mean, like you said, it's been a long time of just talking about, from a teaser trailer that was announcing that it was even in existence to more recently, detailed, in-depth, gameplay and mechanics and stuff like that. So it's been interesting journey. It's going to be very strange not having that to talk about anymore, because I mean, we'll be playing this as of like tomorrow. So
yeah, I mean, we'll still definitely be talking about our experience with it, but yeah, it's gonna be weird not like getting the next chunk of fucking news for Cyberpunk. It's been such like a staple with this channel. So
I guess the multiplayer will probably end up having
multiplayer, and I'm sure if they had like DLCs or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's not over yet, but the initial journey to this point is finally over. Feels weird, but I'm stoked to fucking play the game. So with that, we're gonna watch this and react to it and talk about it. Ready?
Yep.
All right, 3, 2, 1, and go.
Test of a person's true value. Death. Facing. Staring it down.
Johnny.
I got you. Pressure's tanking.
I'll say don't fucking start an ad.
It's now buffering.
He's so pissed.
V, you in there?
My head. So what now?
Now, you find out what it is you need to do.
A thing of beauty, I know.
You've never backed down from anything in your life, even when you maybe should have. You go through Night City knowing a stray bullet could end you while hailing a cab.
Love that.
But that's never
I love
stopped
just the
you
complete
from
like
taking action.
variety of how people look, man.
You believe you cheated death. It is
It's also
death
weird
that
to get
has
like a
cheated
trailer.
Yeah.
If you gotta kill, kill.
Sword.
If you gotta burn it all to the ground, then let it burn.
Gentlemen, on the ground, asshole, don't move.
Out of my house! No!
Will never fade away. What you did to me, I know. So how I find a way, but I think of beauty.
Would you rather live in peace as Mr. Nobody or go down for all times in a blaze of
So
glory?
many scenes.
I know. I'm gonna have to go back through and look at this.
Fade away.
Well, congratulations. You got me even more hyped somehow.
That was a good trailer.
It was a good trailer, yeah, for sure.
The song was perfect.
I was expecting like a lot of the other trailers, they're a lot more energetic in their music or whatever, but like that was a little more down tempo, but it fit really well with like the imagery.
Yeah.
There was a shot that I was trying to look at.
Yeah, I was trying to think of things to say during that, but I was too busy
No,
just watching.
I wasn't even like I didn't have anything to say because I was like actually watching the shit. But yeah, this right here fucking looks dope. Fighting with swords and shit.
Look at
This
the
person's
colors,
like,
man.
yeah, so dope. And then fucking right here, some dude just fucking on the car like that.
That person's a robot. They're not a person anymore.
So is this fucking person. This is horrifying looking. Yeah. So I mean, we already kind of talked about it, but really good trailer. It's kind of cool
Yeah.
to get like a story trailer. We've got like one before, maybe two, but most of the time it's just kind of like showing off the game and less about like building hype around a narrative. I think it's done really well.
Yeah, for sure.
What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, just the emotion of the trailer was just super good.
Yeah, it's almost fitting for the game. You know, it's a launch trailer, so they did a good job on like the release. It's coming. It's the wait's over. But yeah, a lot of really good looking stuff here. Like you said, variety. Every fucking scene here is different, and every character you're seeing that's not the same character you saw from earlier in the trailer is completely different looking. It's just there's so much detail, and in fact, some of the reviews I've been reading so far has said that the ones that are being a little more positive, not the GameSpot one where the girl barely played the game. I forgot her name, which is fine, whatever. If that's how she wants to do the review, that you just take it as it is. But other people are saying like they're playing the game. I think it was Easy Allies. He's like, you're playing this game, you're looking around, you're going like, oh, this is why it took so long to make, because it's just like so fucking detailed. And like every trailer we've watched so far has been like that, absolutely including this one, which is really cool. It's a really fucking intense scene of just a bloody ass chair.
Yeah, it's like
in
some
there.
underground dock.
Yeah, I mean this trailer is fucking dope. The amount of details going on here, I'm so fucking ready to play this game, and it's like less than 24 hours now. Some of the stuff though seems a little not repeated, but maybe showing a lot of, or not a lot, showing some of the stuff we've seen already, which is fine. But a lot of new stuff here as well. And yeah, it's a good trailer, short and sweet, ready to fucking go. Yeah.
I mean, I agree. I obviously I generally prefer. Excuse me.
No.
Like the episodic stuff they had where they were actually like talking about gameplay features and stuff like that. That's more like my cup of tea most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Though with that information out there now, I do appreciate this kind of trailer at that point. I always hate when they start with this kind of stuff just because, well, in this case, it's all in game. So I guess that's not correct either. Cinematic stuff it drives me nuts because you don't really get a feel for the game. They did a really good job like leading up into this because like they did all the detail stuff or whatever, and now this is like the commercial essentially, like
100%
to put out there for everybody.
Like when you put out a trailer for a movie, it's supposed to get people's attention, make them want to go see it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a little too good, and you watch the movie and you're like, it wasn't as good as the trailer.
Right.
Sometimes that happens with games as well, but yeah, this does seem like we're past all the build up. This is just the final fucking icing on the cake.
Yeah, and I mean, I've already said it a couple times now, but like, I also love that the tone of the trailer is like serious and somber. Just because like I imagine the game, like someone has commented before as well, it's gonna be a very dark experience, I'm sure, and it's you definitely feel that a lot in this trailer. That like it's not all just like rainbows and bubblegum, you know what I mean? So
Or at least like super hip fucking hyperkinetic fucking driving beats and stuff, and just like, hey, let's fuck shit up, blah blah blah. So yeah, it was a good change of pace for sure. I paused it here because I just think this character model like is really good looking, like the detail.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially in the eyes. I was just really impressed with the facial detail, her as well, and the details of the room.
Yeah,
I mean, you can definitely tell this is PC.
I would say all the character models are constantly impressive. It blows me away that they were able to make so many different NPCs. So,
and we've been saying since the beginning, or at least I've really been driving this home. I'm so used to games that do this kind of open world, choose your own adventure style gameplay, feeling stiff. Bethesda has been a major factor in my expectations of games like this to be less. I don't know, cinematic, I guess, because they already made a big world, so they put less work into like the animations and people actually doing stuff. But like you're seeing all these cinematic stuff like that, like him shoving that dude and people having like full on scenes acting out. A lot of times while you're playing, one of the things I was reading was saying that like a lot of times during these cutscenes, you're like just freely looking around and interacting with everything, and you can choose to like do certain things or just not speak at all while this shit's all unplaying as it's going. So that's really cool, and it's like I said, it's just really cool to see that kind of detail and that kind of work put into a game of this magnitude, essentially.
Man, it's gonna be really crazy to see what people have to say tomorrow night.
I have a feeling most people are going to be happy with it. The people I'm seeing complaining about it. Not to say if anyone dislikes this game that I'll instantly be like, wow, you're just one of those people. I'm not that kind of guy. But it does seem to be certain types of people in gaming journalism and certain types of people who were it's overhyped game.
Yeah.
People are the fastest to say that it's fucked up and not good enough and all this shit. Plus, I just want to reemphasize the day one patch is supposed to completely make the console version a different game compared to what it is now for the people who have played it early, and it's supposed to fix a lot of the PC problems, but not all of them yet. It's going to fix a lot of the bugs, but console is supposed to be like an overhaul completely of the build that's available right now. From what I read. Correct me if I'm wrong, but by the time you're watching this, you might have already been playing this game. So.
Yeah. And I didn't necessarily mean it in the regard of negative comment. I mean just like, I just know that once I go on Twitter, it's gonna drown out everything, and it's gonna be really neat to see. So,
yeah, that and fucking maybe that will get people to shut up about Ghost of Tsushima versus Last of Us Part 2. I'm starting to finally see people just congratulated. I'm like, okay, good, thank you. Just do
Yeah.
that. Like, just move on. Fucking goddamn. But yeah, overall, great trailer. Like I said, it did, and I'm not just saying this, it did get me more hyped. It's something I needed, a different change of pace, tone, and they did it here. And a really, really cool send-off that I'm really excited to finally play this game after. Anything else you want to say?
Next time we talk to you guys, we will have played this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So let us know in the comments what you guys think of this trailer. Was it good? Was it bad? Was it everything you could have hoped for? What was your favorite part of it? And are you guys excited to finally be playing this? Or maybe you are playing this right now. Is it everything you hoped for? And yeah. Let us know everything you're thinking about in the comments below. But that's going to do it for this episode of Tasty Tuesday on Tasty Loot Gaming. As always, thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this episode. Make sure to check out our other episodes. Check us out on social media. Links down below. Check out our Discord. Link down below. You can talk to us anytime, all the time. We're on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast platforms if you prefer to listen to us. And we have we have a Discord. I already said that. We have a Patreon. Link down below as well. If you'd like to support the channel further than liking, commenting, and sharing the video and subscribing if you're new. We're almost to 2,000 subscribers. Trying to hit that sooner than later. And yeah, my name's Seth.
I'm Chevy.
And until the Game Awards, which is right around the corner, have a good couple nights and take it easy.